Minji opened her locker and found another note. This was the third one this week. The paper was folded neatly, but the message was ugly. Stay away from Chunho or else. She did not show fear. 3 years fighting the Krell across the stars had taught her that fear was a luxury soldiers couldn't afford. But she was not a soldier anymore. Not officially. She was just a high school student now. Or at least, she was trying to be. Minji looked around the busy hallway. Everyone seemed normal. Students talked and laughed. They checked their phones. They worried about tests. None of them seemed like they had just left a threat in her locker. That was the problem with this enemy. They were invisible. Hey, Minji. Chunho walked up with a big smile. He was the only person who had been nice to her since she came back to school. Ready for math class. Minji quickly put the note in her pocket. Yes, she said simply. She didn't want to worry him. As they walked to class, Minji studied the other students. In war, she had learned to watch for signs of danger. A strange movement. A nervous look. Anything out of place. Now she used those same skills in the hallways of Seoul High School. You always look so serious, Chunho said. What are you thinking about? Minji almost told him about the notes, but stopped herself. Just remembering things. From the war? Chunho asked quietly. She nodded. Everyone knew she had fought in the war, but no one knew what she had really done out there. They just saw her as the strange girl who came back different. They didn't know she had been part of the elite forces that saved 3 human colonies from the Krell. They didn't know she had killed to protect them all. In math class, Minji sat in the back corner. It gave her the best view of everyone. She noticed Do-hyun, the student council president, looking at her more than usual. Was it him? He never liked how Junho had become her friend. After school, when most students had left, Minji put her plan into action. She had mapped all the school's security cameras during her first week back. She knew where the blind spots were. Now she placed tiny cameras of her own in those spots. Tools she had kept from her military days. "What are you doing here so late?" a voice asked. Minji turned to see Mr. Sunwoo, her political science teacher. "Just finishing a project," she said calmly, though her heart raced. She had almost been caught. "You're a dedicated student," he said. "I noticed your essay on interstellar politics was unusually detailed." "I read a lot," Minji said. "Yes, I'm sure you do." He looked at her for a long moment. "See you tomorrow." When he left, Minji finished setting up her surveillance system. Then she went home to her empty apartment. Her parents had died while she was away fighting. Another reason she felt like a stranger here. On her tablet, she watched the camera feeds. For hours, nothing unusual happened. Then, just before midnight, she saw movement. Someone was at her locker. The figure was wearing a hoodie, but Minji could see their face clearly when they looked up. It was Do-hyun. Minji wasn't surprised. In war, the enemy was often right in front of you, hiding behind a friendly face. She had proof now. Tomorrow, she would have to decide what to do with this information. Fight back, or find another way. In war, she would have eliminated the threat immediately. But this wasn't war. This was high school. And sometimes, high school could be even more dangerous. The next morning, Minji sat in political science class, watching Do-hyun from the corner of her eye. She had not confronted him about the notes yet. In the military, timing was everything. "Today we'll discuss the peace talks with the Krell," Mr. Sunwoo announced. "Who can tell me why these talks are important?" Several hands went up. Do-hyun spoke first. "Because the Krell might attack again if we don't make peace." "That's partly right," Mr. Sunwoo said. "Anyone else?" Minji rarely spoke in class, but today she raised her hand. "Yes, Minji. The Krell only attacked because we entered their territory without permission," she said. "Their society values space boundaries above all else. That's why they responded with such force." The room went quiet. Mr. Sunwoo looked surprised. "That's a very specific analysis," he said. Where did you learn this? Minji realized her mistake. This information was from military briefings, not public news. I read a lot online, she said quickly. Mr. Sunwoo's eyes narrowed. See me after class. During lunch, Minji sat alone as usual. Then a girl with glasses approached her table. Can I sit here? She asked nervously. Yes, Minji said. She recognized the girl as Yunji, one of the quiet students who was often ignored. I liked what you said in class, Yunji said. Everyone thinks the Krell are just monsters, but you talked about their culture. A boy with messy hair joined them. That was cool, he said. I'm Taehyun. Minji nodded at him. She remembered both their faces from her surveillance. They were never with the popular groups. They were outsiders, like her. Do you want to study together sometime? Yunji asked. I'm failing 3 classes. Me too, Taehyun admitted. I understand the material, but I can't focus on homework. Minji thought about it. In the military, soldiers helped each other. Why not here? Yes, she said. We can form a study group. After school, Mr. Sunwoo closed his classroom door. Minji, I'm concerned, he said. The information you shared today is not common knowledge. In fact, it matches classified reports I've read. Before the war, Mr. Sunwoo had been a government analyst. Minji had forgotten this fact. I don't know what you mean, she said calmly, though her heart raced. Were you more than just a regular soldier? He asked directly. Minji stared at him. Her training had prepared her for interrogation by enemies, not teachers. I was just a soldier, she lied. But I listened to my commanders. Mr. Sunwoo didn't look convinced, but he let her go. That evening, Minji met Yunji and Taehyun at the library. They looked lost among their books. First, we need structure, Minji said. In the military, structure meant survival. 1 hour for each subject. 5-minute breaks between. No phones. That sounds intense, Taehyun said. It works, Minji replied. In war, we had systems for everything. Your enemy is not the subject. It's distraction. For 2 hours, she guided them through study techniques she had learned for mission prep. At the end, they had finished more homework than ever before. This is amazing, Yunji said. Can we do this again tomorrow? Minji nodded. For the first time since coming back, she felt useful. As they packed up, Minji spotted Dohyun watching them from between bookshelves. When their eyes met, he quickly walked away. The invisible enemy wasn't so invisible anymore. But now, Minji wasn't facing him alone. She had begun to build her own squad, just like in the war. And every soldier knew. The best defense was a strong team. Monday morning brought a surprise. All students were called to the gym for a special announcement. Principal Kim stood at the microphone, his face serious. Starting today, we have a new discipline system at Seoul High School. He pointed to a large screen showing a pyramid with 5 levels. Level 1, warning. Level 2, detention. Level 3, parent meeting. Level 4, suspension. Level 5, expulsion. Minji watched carefully. This system was very similar to military command structure. Each teacher can now give penalty points, Principal Kim continued. 5 points moves you up 1 level. No exceptions. Whispers filled the gym. This was much stricter than before. Unfair, someone shouted from the back. Silence. Principal Kim's voice echoed. Anyone who complains gets an automatic point. Minji didn't react, but inside she felt uneasy. In the military, strict systems worked because they had clear purposes. This seemed designed only for control. By lunch, 3 students had already reached level 2. One was Taehyun, who had been late to class. It's not fair, Yunji said as she sat with Minji and Taehyun. His bus was delayed. Rules are rules, Dohyun said, passing by their table with a smirk. Minji watched him walk to a table of popular students. He was enjoying this new system. As student council president, he had probably helped create it. After lunch in history class, another student reached level 2 for forgetting his textbook. On the way to the next class, Shunho joined Minji in the hallway. "This is crazy," he whispered. "Everyone's afraid to even speak." Minji nodded. "This isn't discipline. It's oppression." Shunho looked surprised. It was the strongest opinion Minji had ever shared. That night, Minji couldn't sleep. During the war, she had helped free a Krell-occupied human colony. The Krell had used similar tactics to control humans, creating fear through harsh, unpredictable punishment. The next day, more students reached level 2. One girl cried when she got detention for dropping her pencil twice. During study group, Taehyun was too nervous to focus. "If I get one more point, my parents will be called. My dad will be so angry." Minji made a decision. "We need to act." "What can we do?" Yoonji asked. "We're just students." "No," Minji said firmly. "In war, I learned that even small groups can make change if they work together." She took out a piece of paper and began drawing a plan. The next day, Minji's small resistance began. It was simple but effective, based on tactics she had used during occupation management. First, they documented every penalty point given, creating a record of unfair punishments. Second, they formed support teams to help students avoid penalties, lending supplies, helping with homework, reminding about rules. Third, they started a silent symbol of unity, a small blue dot drawn on the wrist. It meant you're not alone. Within days, nearly half the school had blue dots. Teachers noticed, but couldn't punish students for it since there was no rule against drawing on your own skin. Do-hyun noticed too. During lunch period, he confronted Minji. "I know what you're doing," he said, "trying to undermine the system." "I'm helping students support each other," Minji replied calmly. "I've reported you to Principal Kim," Do-hyun said. "He wants to see you now." In the principal's office, Minji stood at attention, like she would before a commanding officer. "Minji," Principal Kim said, "Do-hyun tells me you're organizing some kind of rebellion." "No, sir," Minji said. "I'm organizing a support system. Here's our data." She handed him the record of all penalty points from the past 3 days. It clearly showed that the system was being applied unfairly. Principal Kim studied the paper for a long time. "This is concerning." "Sir, discipline works best when it's fair and has clear purpose," Minji said, using the exact words from her military training manual. Principal Kim looked at her with new respect. "You sound like someone with experience." "I've seen both good and bad systems," she answered carefully. When Minji left the office, Do-hyun was waiting. "What happened?" he demanded. "The principal is reviewing the system," Minji said simply, walking past him. The next morning, Principal Kim announced changes. Penalty points would now require written justification. Students could appeal unfair points. The levels remained, but the path between them was no longer so quick and easy. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. "You did it," Junho said with admiration. Minji shook her head. "We did it. Together." For the first time since returning from war, Minji felt like she belonged somewhere. She had found a new mission, making high school a little less like hell. 2 weeks after the discipline system change, posters for the annual school festival appeared in the hallways. It was Seoul High's biggest event of the year. Each class would create something to show parents and visitors. "Are you excited for the festival?" Junho asked Minji as they walked to lunch. "I don't know much about it," she admitted. In her old life, festivals meant nothing. Survival meant everything. "It's fun. There's food, games, music. Each class does a project. Some do cafes, others do art shows." Before Minji could respond, a teacher hurried up to them. "Minji, I need to speak with you," Ms. Park said. She looked worried. "It's important." In Ms. Park's office, Minji sat straight, hands on her knees. "We have a problem," Ms. Park explained. "Hana, our festival committee leader, is in the hospital with pneumonia. She'll be there for at least 2 weeks. I'm sorry to hear that, Minji said. The festival is in 3 weeks, and everything is a mess. No one knows what to do. Ms. Park looked at Minji with hopeful eyes. But I heard how you organized that student support system. Would you consider taking over the festival planning? Minji blinked in surprise. Why me? Principal Kim said you showed excellent organizational skills. The other teachers agreed. Minji thought about it. In the military, she had coordinated complex operations involving hundreds of soldiers. A school festival couldn't be harder than that. I'll do it, she said. Ms. Park smiled with relief. Thank you. Here's Hannah's planning folder. The committee will meet you after school today. The folder was a disaster. Papers were everywhere. Nothing was labeled. The budget was unclear. The schedule had conflicts. After school, Minji met the festival committee. 10 students looked at her nervously, including Do-yeon. Why is she in charge? He asked immediately. I'm student council president. This was Principal Kim's decision, Ms. Park said firmly. Minji ignored Do-yeon and opened the folder. We have problems to fix. She quickly divided the work, assigning each person clear tasks. She created a new schedule, fixing the conflicts. She made a detailed budget. Each class needs to submit their plan by tomorrow, she told them. No exceptions. That's too soon, someone complained. We have limited time, Minji said. In battle, she stopped herself. In busy situations, clear deadlines help everyone. For the next week, Minji ran the committee like a military operation. Morning meetings for updates, afternoon checks on progress, evening planning for the next day. The other students were amazed by her efficiency. Even Do-yeon stopped complaining when he saw how well things were working. But at night, alone in her apartment, Minji struggled. The pressure brought back memories. Planning a festival was too similar to planning missions. In her dreams, the school booths became battlefield positions. Student volunteers became soldiers. She woke up sweating, reaching for weapons that weren't there. During a planning meeting, the fire alarm suddenly went off. It was just a drill, but the loud noise made Minji freeze. Images flashed in her mind. Alarms on the battlefield, wounded soldiers, Krell attackers. Minji, are you okay? Chunho touched her arm gently. She blinked, coming back to reality. Everyone was staring at her. Yes, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Let's continue outside. Later, Chunho found her alone in the classroom. What happened earlier? He asked quietly. Minji looked at him. She had kept so many secrets. Sometimes, I remember things. From the war. Bad things. She nodded. I thought so, Junho said. My uncle was a soldier too. He has the same look sometimes. For a moment, they sat in silence. You don't have to do this festival thing if it's too hard, Junho said. Minji shook her head. In the military, we finish our missions. No matter what. This isn't the military, Minji. She almost smiled. Old habits. As the festival approached, everything was on schedule. Booths were built. Performances were practiced. The budget was balanced. How did you do all this? Ms. Park asked, amazed. Good planning, Minji said simply. She didn't say that planning kept the nightmares away. That work was the only thing that made her feel normal. The day before the festival, Minji stood in the empty schoolyard, looking at all the booths. Her mission was almost complete. Junho joined her. Everyone's talking about you, he said. They say you're amazing. Minji didn't feel amazing. She felt like a soldier pretending to be a student, but for the first time, she wondered if maybe she could be both. Tomorrow will be good, she said. And for once, she was looking forward to tomorrow. The school festival was a huge success. Everyone praised Minji's organization. Teachers smiled at her in the hallways. Students who had never spoken to her before now said hello. Even Principal Kim had personally thanked her. This new attention made Minji uncomfortable. In the military, success meant staying alive. Nothing more. You should be proud, Yeonji told her during lunch. Their study group had grown to 7 students now. You made the best festival in years. Minji just nodded. She didn't know how to handle praise. As she walked to her next class, she noticed whispers following her. Not all the attention was positive. Some students looked at her with fear or suspicion. After school, Minji found Yeonji crying in the bathroom. What happened? Minji asked. Some girls pushed me, Yeonji said between sobs. They called me names for hanging out with you. Minji felt a cold anger grow inside her. Who? It doesn't matter. Yeonji wiped her tears. They said you're dangerous, that there's something wrong with you. Minji's hand tightened into a fist. She had seen bullying before, but this was different. They were targeting Yeonji because of her. I'll handle this, Minji said. Please don't make it worse, Yeonji begged. Minji walked home alone, thinking. In the military, she would have confronted the enemy directly. But here, direct confrontation might hurt Yeonji more. The next morning, Minji found a note in her locker. But this one wasn't about Juno. We know what you really did in the war. Meet me in the music room after school or everyone will know too. It was signed by Do-yeon. During classes, Minji couldn't focus. What did Do-yeon know? Her real role in the war was classified. Only her commanders knew the full truth. After school, she went to the music room. Do-yeon was waiting, holding a tablet. Glad you came, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. What do you want? Minji asked. Do-yeon showed her the tablet. On the screen was a military file with her name. My father works for the Defense Ministry, Do-yeon explained. I asked him to look you up. Minji kept her face blank, but inside she felt panic. Her file was supposed to be sealed. It says you were part of Special Unit 7, Do-yeon continued. They weren't regular soldiers. They were elite. Assassins. That's classified information, Minji said coldly. So it's true. Do-yeon looked surprised, as if he hadn't really believed it until now. You killed Krell. What do you want? Minji repeated. Step down from the student committee, Do-yeon said. Stop your study group. Go back to being invisible. Or you'll tell everyone I killed to protect them. Minji asked. Do-yeon hesitated. People will be afraid of you. Minji stepped closer to him. Would knowing I killed to protect you make you feel safer or more afraid? The question caught Do-yeon off guard. I don't know. Think about it, Minji said. Someone had to do the hard things so others could live normal lives. Do-yeon didn't respond. I won't step down, Minji said. And I won't stop helping my friends. As she turned to leave, Do-yeon called after her. I didn't tell my father the whole truth, he admitted. I just said I was curious about returned soldiers. He doesn't know I was asking about you specifically. Minji looked back at him. Thank you for that. At least. The next day, Minji found Yeonji sitting with Taehyun and Juno before class. Are you okay? Minji asked her. Better now, Yeonji said. Taehyun walked me to school today. The girls who pushed you, Minji said. I want to know who they are. Why? Yeonji looked worried. What will you do? Nothing bad, Minji promised. But in war, we learned that ignoring a threat only makes it grow. Reluctantly, Yeonji pointed out 3 girls sitting together across the room. They were laughing and taking selfies. Minji recognized one as Do-yeon's girlfriend. Rather than confront them, Minji spent the next 3 days watching and gathering information. She learned their schedules, their habits, their weaknesses. On the 4th day, Minji approached them in the cafeteria. The entire room went quiet. I know you pushed my friend, Minji said calmly. It won't happen again. Or what? One girl challenged. Minji smiled slightly. I won't hurt you. But I know things, like how you cheated on last week's test, and how you sneak out at night to meet college boys. The girls looked shocked. How did you? I noticed things, Minji said. It's what kept me alive in the war. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. Yunji is my friend. My squad. In the military, we protect our squad. Always. The message was clear. The bullying stopped. Later, Minji saw Do-yeon watching her from across the hall. When their eyes met, he didn't look away. Instead, he gave her a small nod. Maybe he understood now. Sometimes, the most dangerous person could also be the best protector. That night, Minji called her old commander. It was time to talk about her nightmares. Next week, we'll visit the National War Memorial, Mr. Sunwoo announced to the class. It's important to understand the sacrifices made during the Krell War. Minji felt her body tense. The War Memorial was a place for veterans and families of the fallen. She had avoided it since returning to Earth. After class, Shuno noticed her worried face. Are you okay with the field trip? Yes. Minji lied. She couldn't explain that the memorial might have photos of her unit or worse, people who would recognize her. That evening, Minji called Captain Han, her former commander who had helped her with her nightmares. The school is visiting the memorial, she explained. That could be difficult, Captain Han said. Many officers visit there. Will you be okay? I have to be, Minji said. Remember your training, Captain Han advised. Stay calm. Blend in. The day of the field trip arrived. Students chatted excitedly on the bus, but Minji sat quietly, going over her plan. Stay at the back of the group. Avoid eye contact with staff. Look like a normal student. The memorial was a large building with tall glass windows. Inside, displays showed the history of the Krell War. Videos played on screens. Photos of heroes covered the walls. Stay with your groups, Mr. Sunwoo instructed. We have a guide and a special guest speaker today. Minji followed her group, keeping her head down. Their guide, an older man with a kind smile, led them through exhibits about the first Krell attacks. The Krell struck without warning, he explained. Our colonies weren't prepared. Minji bit her lip. That wasn't completely true. There had been warnings, but no one listened. As they moved to the next room, Minji froze. On the wall was a large photo of Special Unit 7. Her unit. She was in the back row, face partly hidden by a helmet, but still recognizable. Tae-yun stopped beside her. That's the famous ghost unit, he said, looking at the photo. They saved thousands of lives. How do you know that? Minji asked quietly. I read about them, Tae-yun said. They moved behind enemy lines, took out key targets. No one knows who they were. Minji nodded and moved on quickly before he could look too closely at the photo. In the main hall, chairs were set up for the guest speaker. Minji's heart nearly stopped when she saw who it was. Colonel Park, her unit's highest commander. We are honored to have Colonel Park with us today, the guide announced. He led our forces to victory in the Battle of New Sydney. Minji slipped to the back row and sat down. Colonel Park had only met her a few times, but if he looked directly at her, he might remember. The colonel began speaking about the war. He described the major battles, the strategy against the Krell. Minji listened carefully, noticing when his facts weren't quite right. She understood why. Much of what really happened was still classified. Then Colonel Park began talking about a mission she had been part of. The Battle of Proxima Station was our turning point, he said. A small team infiltrated the Krell command ship and disabled their communications. That was her mission. Minji and 4 others had snuck aboard the ship. 2 didn't make it back. We lost brave soldiers that day, Colonel Park continued. Captain Kim and Lieutenant Lee sacrificed themselves to complete the mission. Minji clenched her fists. That wasn't what happened. Captain Kim had been shot by friendly fire. Lieutenant Lee was captured, not killed. The truth had been hidden to protect the military's image. A student raised his hand. Sir, how did our soldiers disable the Krell ship? Their technology is so different from ours. Colonel Park hesitated. They used special devices developed by our scientists. Another lie. They had used Krell children as hostages. It was Minji's worst memory of the war, pointing her weapon at innocent creatures to force their parents to surrender. Suddenly, Minji couldn't stay silent. She raised her hand. All her training told her to stay hidden, but she couldn't let the lie stand. Yes, Colonel Park pointed to her. Sir, Minji said carefully, I read that the Proxima mission involved negotiation with the Krell, not just an attack. Is that true? Colonel Park looked surprised. Where did you read that? In an interview with a survivor, Minji said. It wasn't completely a lie. She was the survivor. Colonel Park studied her face for a moment. That's classified information, young lady. But yes, there were communications with the enemy. After the talk, students gathered around Colonel Park for photos. Minji stayed back, but the colonel's eyes found her in the crowd. He walked over. What's your name, student? Minji, sir. His eyes narrowed slightly. You look familiar. I have one of those faces, Minji said, heart racing. Colonel Park nodded slowly. Your question earlier. That information isn't in any public interview. My uncle was there, Minji said quickly. He told me stories. Before Colonel Park could respond, Mr. Sunwoo called the students to return to the bus. As Minji turned to leave, Colonel Park spoke quietly. If your uncle served at Proxima, tell him the fallen are honored here. All of them. Minji nodded, understanding his real message. He knew who she was but wouldn't expose her. On the bus ride back, Chunho sat beside her. You look like you saw a ghost. In a way, I did, Minji said softly. That night, Minji looked up Colonel Park's military record. After the war, he had started a program for returned soldiers, helping them adjust to civilian life. He had fought for better treatment of veterans with PTSD. Maybe not everyone wanted to forget the truth. Maybe some were fighting in different ways now. For the first time, Minji wrote down what really happened at Proxima Station, not to share, but to remember. The good and the bad. The truth behind the glory. High school wasn't the only place where people created comfortable lies. But in both places, someone needed to remember the reality. 2 weeks after the field trip, Minji was in math class when it happened. A loud alarm suddenly blared through the school. It was high-pitched and pulsing. This is a lockdown drill, the principal's voice announced over the speakers. This is not a real emergency. Please follow lockdown procedures. The teacher moved quickly to lock the door. Everyone away from the windows, she ordered. Sit against the back wall. Students shuffled to the back of the room, some giggling, others taking out their phones. But Minji couldn't move. The alarm sounded exactly like the one on Proxima Station, the one that had sounded right before the Krell attacked. Her breath came faster, her vision narrowed. In her mind, she wasn't in a classroom anymore. She was back on the station, surrounded by enemies, her team in danger. Minji, the teacher called. Please move to the back wall. Minji didn't hear her. She saw Krell soldiers entering the room. She had to act fast. Everyone down, she shouted, jumping from her seat. She moved with military precision, grabbing the nearest student and pulling him to the floor. What are you doing? The student cried out. Minji ignored him. She quickly flipped over a desk to create cover. Her training had taken over completely. Enemy at the door, she said in a cold, focused voice. 5 targets. I'll draw their fire. The rest of you flank left. The students stared at her in shock. Some looked scared. Others pulled out phones to record her. Minji, stop, the teacher said firmly. This is just a drill. But Minji was positioned beside the door now, ready to attack anyone who entered. In her mind, she was holding her weapon, preparing to defend her squad. She's having some kind of breakdown, someone whispered. Call the office, the teacher told a student. Now, Chunho slowly approached Minji. Minji, he said softly, it's okay. We're at school. It's just a drill. For a moment, Minji's eyes focused on him. But then the alarm pulsed again, and she was back on Proxima. "Stay down," she ordered Chunho. "They're coming." When the door handle turned, Minji moved in one swift motion. She grabbed the person entering and pinned them against the wall with practiced skill. It was Mr. Sunwoo. He looked shocked but didn't fight back. "Minji," he said calmly. "Stand down, soldier." Those words, the exact words her commanders would use, broke through the flashback. Minji blinked, the classroom slowly coming back into focus. She released Mr. Sunwoo and stepped back, her face pale. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The full reality of what had just happened hit her. Everyone was staring. Some looked afraid. Others were still recording. "Everyone put your phones away," Mr. Sunwoo ordered sharply. "Now." The alarm finally stopped. The sudden silence felt heavy. "Minji, come with me," Mr. Sunwoo said gently. "The rest of you, continue the drill." In the empty hallway, Minji leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "PTSD?" Mr. Sunwoo asked quietly. Minji nodded. The alarm, it sounded like. "I understand," he said. "My brother came back from the war with the same problem." Minji looked at him in surprise. "Why do you think I recognized your symptoms in class?" Mr. Sunwoo said, "The detailed knowledge, the hypervigilance, the quick reactions. Are you going to report me?" Minji asked. "For what?" "Having a normal reaction to an abnormal experience." Mr. Sunwoo shook his head. "But you need help, Minji. Real help." "I've been calling my old commander," she admitted. "That's good. But you might need more." He handed her a card. "This is a special counselor for returned soldiers. She works with people your age." Minji took the card silently. When the drill ended, Minji had to return to class. Everyone watched her enter. She could feel their eyes, hear their whispers. But then Chunho stood up. "Hey, Minji, I saved your seat." He acted like nothing had happened. Minji sat down gratefully. By lunch, videos of her episode had spread throughout the school. Minji sat alone, not even joining her study group. She couldn't face them. Then Taehyun sat across from her. "That was the coolest thing I've ever seen," he said. "You moved like those action stars in movies." Yoonji joined them. "Are you okay?" she asked, her eyes concerned. One by one, her friends came to sit with her. None of them asked about the war. None of them made her explain. Later, Do-hyun approached her in the hallway. Other students stepped back, watching. "Everyone's talking about what happened," he said. "I know," Minji replied. "They're not scared of you," Do-hyun said, surprising her. "They're amazed. No one knew what you really went through. No one understood until today." Minji looked around. Students were watching her, but not with fear, with respect. "You protected us," a girl said, "against the Krell. That's what you did, right?" Minji nodded slowly. "Thank you," another student said. More students echoed the thanks. Minji stood frozen, not knowing how to respond. That evening, Chunho walked her home. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Exposed," Minji said honestly, "but also lighter." "No more secrets," Chunho said. "That must be a relief." Minji thought about it. For so long, she had tried to be two different people, the soldier and the student. Maybe now she could just be herself, a soldier who became a student again. "I made an appointment," she said, showing him the card Mr. Sunwoo had given her. "For counseling." Chunho smiled. "Good. I'll go with you if you want." "Why are you still here?" Minji asked suddenly. "After what you saw today, I could have hurt someone." "But you didn't," Chunho said. "You were trying to protect us, even when confused." "That's who you are, Minji. A protector." For the first time in years, Minji felt tears form in her eyes. She quickly blinked them away, but Chunho had seen. "It's okay to feel things," he said quietly. "Soldiers don't cry," Minji replied automatically. "You're not just a soldier anymore," Chunho reminded her. and even soldiers are human first. That night, Minji looked at her reflection in the mirror. The face that looked back was still a warrior's, alert eyes, serious expression. But maybe it could also be the face of a student, a friend, a normal teenager. Maybe, with help, it could even be the face of someone who smiled again someday. 1 month after Minji's episode, things had almost returned to normal. She attended counseling twice a week. Her friends helped her avoid triggers. Teachers were understanding when she needed to step out of class. Then one morning, Principal Kim made an announcement that changed everything. As you may have heard on the news, a Krell diplomatic delegation will be visiting Earth next week. He said over the speakers, Seoul has been chosen as one of their stops. The government asks everyone to remain calm and welcoming. The school erupted in whispers. Some students looked afraid, others angry. The Krell had killed many humans during the war. Also, Principal Kim continued, we will be welcoming 3 new transfer students tomorrow. Please make them feel welcome. In the hallway after the announcement, students crowded around phones, watching news about the Krell visit. My dad says we shouldn't trust them. One boy said, they could be planning another attack. But the peace treaty has held for 2 years, another argued. Minji listened silently. She knew more about the Krell than anyone here, but she kept that knowledge to herself. That night, she dreamed of Proxima Station again. She woke up sweating, reaching for her weapon. The thought of Krell coming to Earth made her old instincts return. The next morning, Minji arrived early. She wanted to see the new students before everyone else did. When a car pulled up, she watched from her classroom window. 3 teenagers stepped out. Even from a distance, Minji recognized how they moved, alert, scanning for threats, staying close together. Like soldiers. When they entered the school, Minji went to meet them. She knew before she saw their faces. Hi Jin, she said, approaching the tallest one. The girl turned, her eyes widening in recognition. Minji. They stared at each other. Former squad mates, fellow child soldiers. You're alive, Hyjin whispered. The other 2 noticed Minji. A boy with a scar on his chin and a shorter girl with short hair. Jinwoo and Sume, part of Special Unit 7. They sent you here too? Jinwoo asked. Minji nodded. I've been here 3 months. How is it? Shumi asked, her voice tense. Before Minji could answer, the bell rang. Students began filling the hallways, staring at the new arrivals. It's different, Minji said. We'll talk later. Meet me at lunch. During morning classes, Minji couldn't focus. Her old team was here, the people who understood what she had been through, who had fought beside her, who knew her real self. At lunch, they sat together at a corner table. No one approached them. The 4 former soldiers created an invisible barrier that regular students seemed afraid to cross. They sent us here because it has a successful integration, Hyjin explained. You. Me? Minji was surprised. Your counselor reports to the Veterans Bureau, Jinwoo said. They think you're adjusting well. Minji almost laughed. I had a PTSD episode in front of my whole class. But you recovered, Sumi pointed out. You didn't drop out. You have friends. I do, Minji admitted. It took time. They talked about their experiences since returning from war. Hyjin had tried 3 different schools before this one. Jinwoo lived with his grandmother who didn't understand his nightmares. Sumi barely spoke to anyone until today. The worst part is pretending, Jinwoo said bitterly. Acting like we care about tests and games and dances. You don't have to pretend here, Minji told them. Not with me. Not with my friends. As if on cue, Juno appeared at their table. Can I join you? Minji nodded, introducing him to her former squad. One by one, her other friends joined them. Yeonji, Taehyun, and 2 others from her study group. The soldiers and students sat together awkwardly at first. Then Taehyun asked about the Krell ships. Were they really made of living metal like they say on the news? Jinwoo nodded. They grow their ships instead of building them. The ice was broken. Questions flowed. The former soldiers answered what they could, avoiding classified information. Minji watched her two worlds begin to merge. After school, Do-hyun approached them in the courtyard. "The Krell delegation is staying at my father's hotel," he said. "He says security is very high." "As it should be," Haijin replied. "There are protesters," Do-hyun continued, "people who lost family in the war." The four soldiers exchanged looks. They understood both sides. "My father says people will accept peace easier if they see how similar we are to each other," Do-hyun said. "That's why they're visiting schools next week." "The Krell are coming here?" Shumi asked, her voice sharp. "Just for a tour," Do-hyun assured them. "No interaction with students." That evening, Minji invited her old squad to her apartment. They sat on the floor, eating instant noodles, like they used to do on missions. "I still can't sleep more than 4 hours," Sumi admitted. "Me too," Jinwoo said. "My counselor helps with that," Minji told them. "She has techniques." "Does it bother you?" Haijin asked. "That these kids have no idea what it was really like." Minji thought about it. "It used to. But that's why we fought, right? So they wouldn't have to know." The next day, Minji took her friends to the school counselor, Ms. Juan. She had been helping Minji with her PTSD. "I want to start a support group," Minji explained, "for returned soldiers." Ms. Juan looked at the 4 teenagers sitting in her office. Too young to have seen what they had seen. Too young to carry such memories. "I think that's an excellent idea," she said. "We can meet twice a week." Word spread about the support group. To everyone's surprise, other students asked to join. Some had family who fought in the war. Others just wanted to understand. Minji was hesitant at first, but Ms. Juan encouraged it. "Healing happens in community," she said. The day before the Krell delegation was scheduled to visit, protests erupted outside the school. People carried signs saying "No aliens on Earth" and "Justice for war victims." Minji and her squad watched from the school steps. "I used to hate them so much," Haijin said quietly. "Now I'm not sure what to feel." "They were protecting their territory," Jinwoo said. "Like we were." "I still see them in my nightmares," Sumi admitted. Minji nodded. "Me too. But also, in my dreams, I'm sometimes the monster." They all understood. In war, everyone becomes something they never wanted to be. To their surprise, Do-hyun joined them on the steps. "My father says the protesters might cause the visit to be canceled." The former soldiers didn't know whether to feel relieved or disappointed. "Would you meet them?" Do-hyun asked. "If they came." "We've already met Krell," Minji said. "Just never without weapons between us." That night, the 4 soldiers stayed at Minji's apartment, talking late into the night. About the war. About after. About trying to live normal lives with memories that were anything but normal. For the first time since returning, Minji didn't feel alone in her experience. Her school friends accepted her, but these 3 understood her. Together, they created a space where they could be their whole selves, not just soldiers, not just students, but the complicated people they had become. As they finally fell asleep, scattered across Minji's small living room, she realized something important. They weren't alone anymore. They had reinforcements now. And with reinforcements, even the hardest battles became possible to face. The day of the Krell visit arrived, but they never came to the school. The protests had grown too large, and the government changed their plans. Instead, the Krell delegation met with officials in a secure building downtown. Minji watched the news with mixed feelings. Part of her was relieved. Another part was disappointed. Meeting Krell in peace might have helped heal old wounds. As the school year's end approached, Minji and her former squad members settled into a new routine. They attended classes, participated in the support group, and slowly built relationships with other students. The 4 of them still stood out. They sat together at lunch. They used military slang that confused others. They remained alert in crowded spaces, but they were trying. My counselor says we need to find balance, Minji told her friends one day, between remembering and moving forward. They were sitting in the school garden during free period. The weather was warm, and flowers bloomed around them. I don't want to forget, Haijin said. The people we lost deserve to be remembered. Not forgetting, Minji clarified. Just not letting the past control us. In her 2 months of counseling, Minji had learned many things about trauma. How it changed the brain. How it made the body always ready for danger. How healing wasn't about erasing memories, but learning to live with them. The next day, a fight broke out in the cafeteria. 2 boys from different classes shouted at each other over a girl. One pushed the other. Friends on both sides joined in. In the past, Minji would have seen this as a tactical situation. Threats to neutralize. Territory to secure. Now she saw it differently. She walked calmly to the center of the conflict. "Stop," she said, her voice quiet but firm. The boys ignored her. One raised his fist. Minji caught his arm easily. I said stop. Everyone froze. They all knew who she was now, what she had done in the war. "What's your problem?" the boy demanded, trying to sound brave. "This isn't solving anything," Minji said. "You're fighting over what?" "A misunderstanding. Hurt feelings." The boys looked embarrassed. "In war, we fought because we had no choice," Minji continued. "People died. But you have a choice. Talk to each other. Find another way." She released the boy's arm. "I've seen enough real fighting to last a lifetime. Haven't you?" The crowd was silent. Then one of the boys stepped back. "Sorry," he muttered. The fight was over. Students slowly returned to their tables, talking quietly. Chunho appeared at Minji's side. "That was amazing," he said. "You didn't use any military moves at all." Minji realized he was right. For the first time, she had faced conflict without tactical thinking. She had used words instead of action, understanding instead of force. That evening, Minji shared what happened with her counselor. "That's significant progress," Ms. Juan said with a smile. "You're finding your own way to resolve conflicts." "It felt strange," Minji admitted, "but good." "You're integrating your experiences," Ms. Juan explained. "Using what you learned in war, courage, decisiveness, leadership, but applying it differently." Later that week, Minji visited the school garden alone. She brought a small box containing her military dog tags. The metal squares had her name, blood type, and unit number stamped into them. She had carried these tags since she was 13. They had defined her identity for so long. Kneeling in the soft earth, Minji dug a small hole. She placed the box inside and covered it with soil. Then she planted a flower seedling over it. It wasn't about forgetting. It was about transformation. Something new growing from something old. As Minji patted the soil around the small plant, Do-hyun approached her. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Planting something," Minji said simply. Do-hyun watched her for a moment. "The student council is organizing a special event for the last day of school," he said. "We want to honor returned veterans. Would you and your friends participate?" 6 months ago, Minji would have refused. She would have wanted to hide her past, to blend in. Now, she considered it. What kind of event? "Just a small ceremony," Do-hyun explained. "A chance for students to say thank you." Minji thought about it. "I'll ask the others." On the last day of school, a simple stage was set up in the courtyard. Students and parents gathered to watch as Principal Kim called Minji, Haijin, Jinwoo, and Sumi forward. "These students served our planet when they were even younger than they are now," he said. "They have shown courage not just in war, but in returning to civilian life." Each of them received a small plaque. It wasn't a military medal. It was a school award for extraordinary courage in service. Minji's friends cheered loudly from the audience. Yeonji and Taehyun had made a banner. Shunho took photos. Even Mr. Sunwoo looked proud. After the ceremony, Students gathered to sign yearbooks and say goodbye for summer break. Minji found herself surrounded by classmates who wanted her signature, not because she was a war hero, but because she was part of their class now. As the crowd thinned, Shunho found Minji sitting alone under a tree. "Big plans for summer?" he asked. "The Veterans Bureau found my aunt," Minji said. "She lives by the ocean. I'm going to stay with her for a while." "Will you come back next year?" Shunho asked, trying to sound casual. "Yes," Minji said. "All four of us will." "Good," Junho smiled. "Because high school would be boring without you." For the first time in years, Minji laughed. A real laugh, not forced or practiced. It surprised her how natural it felt. Later, as she walked home with her former squad, Jinwoo asked, "Do you think we'll ever be normal?" "Normal is overrated," Haijin said. "Besides," Sumi added, "what is normal after everything we've seen?" Minji thought about it. Maybe we don't need to be normal. Maybe we just need to be okay. They walked in comfortable silence for a while. "We survived the war," Minji said finally. "We can survive high school too." As they reached the crossroads where they would separate, the four soldiers stopped. In the military, they would have saluted each other. Instead, they shared quick hugs. "See you next semester," Haijin said. "Stay alert," Jinwoo added with a small smile. "Always," Minji replied. Watching her friends walk away, Minji felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope. Not the desperate hope of survival, but the quiet hope of healing. The war had taken much from her. Her parents, her childhood, her peace of mind. But it hadn't taken everything. She still had friends. She still had a future. And in this strange battlefield called high school, Minji had found something unexpected. A ceasefire within herself. The battle wasn't over. The nightmares would still come. The memories would remain. But for now, at least, there was peace.